Hello.
Hello.
We are Loops and Lap Bars, and today we are here at Walibi Holland.
Yes. A lot to look forward to with this one. 200th roller coaster coming up, RMC coming up, Mac Big Dipper coming up. So many things to talk about here. It's been one of the parks, having done Walibi Belgium last year. Walibi Holland was definitely one of those that we were going to be coming to. We've heard really good things about it, it's so far it's proving to be exactly what we'd hoped. It's certainly a big difference from Slagaran yesterday. Anyway, so we are in the park and we've just had some dinner. I was kind of rushing around because I wanted to get onto the 200th roller coaster, which is Untamed, but I'll talk about that when time comes, because our first roller coaster was Speed of Sound, wasn't it?
It was, yep. Little boomerang, quite a punchy boomerang. We've done quite a few, obviously, over the course of the channel, and yeah, interesting.
Yes, forwards, kind of forgettable, but going backwards, I don't know what it was about this one specifically, but it was really pulling some G's. I don't know if it's slightly bigger than the others. I don't think it is. I think it's probably just, it's been a year or so since I've ridden one. But yeah, that was pulling some serious force going backwards through the loops and stuff.
Yeah.
The sun's come out.
They've screamed like little girl.
But yeah, it's they've done a sort of a decent job of trying to theme it up and whatnot. It's got a nice little tunnel on the drop. It's decent. Is Speed of Sound.
Yeah, nice little coaster.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, exactly that. Nice little coaster. So the next one that we're going to talk about is Draco, which is Draco, I think it is, a Sierra Tivoli, completely unremarkable, apart from the design of the train, which is...
little metal dragon, and it's got literally one bit of theming on the track, and that's a board that says danger, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, they've clearly put some effort in to put that danger sign there, but no other effort to put anything else in. But it's part of the Zero Zone. That's the area that the ride is in, and the rest of the zone is incredibly well themed compared to that, which lends itself incredibly beautifully to Lost Gravity, which is a Mac Big Dipper coaster. I don't think I've ever seen another one of these out there. The closest that you'll probably see is Voltron, which is like a Big Dipper, but it's now called a Striker. But it's a semi-wing coaster, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got the trains are 4 seats across, and there's 2 rows. The middle seats for both rows are directly above the track. The outer 2 seats are essentially wing coaster seats.
Yeah, there's no track below you at all.
Yeah, which is really, really interesting. If you're over 1.95, then you have to sit in a middle seat, unfortunately. Dave's tall enough though, so he was on the outside, I was in the middle.
Yeah, which is exactly what I wanted the wing seat anyway. And in terms of the coaster itself, it's incredibly whippy, but very comfortable as well.
It is, yeah, it's incredibly comfortable. Now, because I was obviously in a sat middle seat, I didn't get so much whip or the airtime so much because I'm not on an outside seat. But incredibly comfortable, incredibly smooth, and it is genuinely one of them coasters. It looks worse on the ground than what it is when you get on it.
Yeah, the transitions and the inversions and things like that are done as you'd expect from a Mac. They're done very well. It's graceful in how it works, and it's not just like the way that the coaster rides, but it's also off-ride, as you'll see here. Some of the footage I'm putting up. The roller coaster goes through certain elements and things are happening, like there's a water spurt, saw some flames as well, and the whole area is just quite wonderful bonkers. There's an upside down helicopter, the path is
all
cut.
zigzagged at an angle,
in zigzag
and the idea
fashions.
is that you've meant to have lost the gravity as you walk through, and which is why things are like they are.
Yeah, that's what I think is the case. Obviously the ride's called Lost Gravity, but yeah, it's just bonkers. I mean, we've bought Fastlane tickets because when we came to Belgium last year, we wanted to make sure we got them all done, and we thought they were an absolute steal with the price. We paid €45 from here, and it includes all the major coasters as well. So I think it's quite worth the money. And as we were going through the entrance to that, you can go the normal boring route, or you can climb through the back of a bus.
Exactly, yeah.
It's and that's one of the things that seems to be a theme with Walibi, or at least Walibi Holland rather, is that it's bonkers in a good way. So yeah, that's Draco and Lost Gravity. Next one to talk about is certainly one that you're going to remember, and that is going to be Condor, which is a Vekoma SLC. But the difference between this one and the others that we've done is this one's got vest restraints. Yay!
Yay!
It bloody needed them.
Yeah. I am glad this one had vest restraints, and I now might go on a campaign for all SLCs to get vest restraints instead of the bulky overhead ones. Because yes, we were at the front row on Condor. Yes, it was rough. Yeah, we got knocked about a bit, but because you got the vest restraints, you didn't come off feeling like I'm not going to get back on that, or I've come off with concussion. So yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, it's not bad. It is definitely the worst of the SLCs in terms of its your ride comfort, at least that I've done. And we're talking Infusion, Iron Claw, Toxic Garden, Vampire at Walibi Belgium, Kamali and Odyssey. Those two don't really count though because they're unique, whereas all these are clones. Like I say, this one's got the vest restraints. It's the worst of those. And we've done Toxic Garden, Infusion, Iron Claw and Vampire all on front row. So they're all exactly comparable.
Yeah.
And yeah, that one's the worst. But because of the restraint, as we say, it's perfectly rideable. If it had the horseshoe collars on, them bloody horrible things, yeah, it would be unbearable. It would generally hurt.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Condor.
Right.
Just had to go on tequila taxis, as you can see. And apart from being Dodgems, kind of unremarkable in the fact it's just a Dodgems. One thing to point out is that Thorpe Park should buy those cars for Big Easy Boulevard.
Yeah.
They look like they would fit in a lot better than the boy racer style ones that they've got right now. But other than that, Dodgems.
Yeah, Dodgems.
€26 gets you a chicken burger, burrito, fries and drinks. Hopefully they're going to be tasty. €10 for two, essentially bubble teas.
Yeah.
Mango, it's like a bubble tea slush. Mango in one, blueberry in the other. €13 altogether because you pay €1.50 for essentially the cup rental. You do get that back if you give them the cup back though, so that's something to be aware of. I do apologise this next segment if you see me swinging because we're on swings. Yeah, look, the more sort of Walibi bonkers. Next we're going to talk about Goliath, which is an Intamin mega coaster, and one of those coasters that I grew up sort of not admiring because that's a bit weird, but longing to ride, if you will, because of Rollercoaster Tycoon 2, which this park we featured in. It was back then it was called Six Flags. Yeah. Anyway, so Intamin mega, very comfortable, a bit on the sort of rattly side. I think that's part in fact to its age, but it's essentially an out and back, up and down airtime machine, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yes, I did too. After an initial bit of, am I going to get on this because I couldn't sort the seatbelt out, the ride op very kindly helped me, and he was lovely. We got off, and yeah, it looks really, really steep initially when you go over the first hill, but it is really comfortable. No knocks, no nothing, and to be fair, even though it is meant to be an airtime machine, I didn't get too much airtime, which I rather liked. Yeah,
I got enough.
I was in my seat.
I got enough. The restraints were quite comfortable, and even though the trains look exactly the same as Colossus's do, the seats in them are massively different. There's loads of room between the seats for one thing. It doesn't have bulky over-the-shoulder restraints. It does have a seat belt, which is the weird bit, but other than that, everything else was really, really good fun about it. It carried some great speed coming into the final brake run though. Feels like it got so much more to give. And what I do like is that they still kept the Goliath sign which I presume was put in the Six Flags days,
yeah.
because obviously Six Flags being an American company, they ran it like an American park. But Wallabi's kept that up, and I quite like that. So that was Goliath, and then the other roller coaster that's right by it is Eat My Dust, which is a little Zamperla Junior coaster. Built last year. Not much to say about it. The train is really sort of coolly designed because it's based on an off-road vehicle.
Yeah, it looks like a little doom buggy. It's a properly cutesy train.
Yeah.
That's all decorated up. The area's well themed that it's in, and the coaster itself, you get 2 goes round. It's nice and smooth, and yeah, I can't complain about that one.
No,
it's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's unremarkable, but still worthwhile visiting for.
Yeah.
Like I said, you're gonna be going Goliath. You might as well come on this one when you're coming past. We got a walk on for it. So yeah, it's pleasant. I know I'm struggling to find things to talk about with that one, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, really pleasant. And yeah, I can highly recommend these bubble teas as well. This one's mangoes, really lovely.
Blueberry.
And here we are in the car. Take 2 because the GoPro died. So yeah, we're wrapping up in the car because when we left you last, having talked about Goliath and such, we have an action-packed afternoon, ride after ride after ride, and all sorts of other things. Anyway, so first thing that we're going to talk about is
Crazy River.
Crazy River, which is a log flume, and in keeping with the theme of the name as well as the park, it's bonkers.
It is.
As you'll see here, that some of the queue line it's themed like sort of in a daft fashion. There's cables and there's a massive bunch of cables. The station, I didn't unfortunately get any video inside the station, but yeah, there's all sorts of stuff going on in there.
Yeah.
Little signs.
Yeah. Little signs like, if you lose a hand, use your other hand. If you lose a hand, then ask for another hand.
Yeah. Lose your left hand, use your right. If you lose your right hand, ask for a hand. Yeah, it's all about employee abuse in there, but it's in a comical fashion. It's really good fun. Yeah, so that's Crazy River. There was 3 drops, weren't there?
Yep, 3 drops, 3 little lift hills, and 1 backward section.
Yeah, 1 backward section. Not much of a soaker, but it does have some cool interactive elements. In that when you come down the final drop, photos taken, and then every so often there'll be essentially like a geyser erupts, because I think that the entire place is based around sort of like either a steam factory or something to do with pressure, and that's a pressure release valve, which is obviously in keeping with the theme of the ride. So yeah, so that was Crazy River. And then next is El Rio Grande, isn't it? Yeah, which is the
raft ride and rapids ride. And to be fair, it lives up to its name. It is a decent rapids ride. And you do get a little bit of a splashing on there, but that's all good. It's not a soaking.
Yeah, there's not much to write home about with this one. Again, unfortunately, it's essentially just a trough that runs all the way around you. You drop at the start, all the way around. The waterfalls on that were the most pathetic waterfalls I think I've ever seen.
But you still did get a bit of a mist in from them though.
Yeah, so it'd still be a really good one on a really hot day. But yeah, as Tracy alluded to, yeah, it does feel quite rapid because there's a lot of sections where you're going down several probably several feet in height over bumps. So yeah, there's quite a lot of movement of water and stuff like that. So It's not the best rapids ride in the world. It's far from the best in Europe or anything like that.
But it's nice.
Yeah,
it's a nice little ride.
Nice little sit down.
Addition to the park.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Yeah.
It would be nice if it had a camera on it though. But
yes.
other than that, that's El Rio Grande.
Yep.
So the next two are going to be two of the non-roller coaster rides. First one being Le Tour de Jardin, which is the garden tour, and it's just like a nice little car ride.
Yeah, nice little car ride. Self-driving, and it's great if you think if you've got kids that want to drive but don't know how to drive, because it drives itself.
I thought when we were in queue for it, I thought that the steering wheel was connected to the wheels, and it was one of those like Grand Prix at Blackpool Pleasure Beach that is used to turn steel and the wheels move. But no, it just seems to be that the car will bounce from left to right. Very, very slowly, because it is an incredibly slow ride. Quite the opposite of Sligaren's one yesterday, which rocketed round. This one could have done with Sligaren's speed, and then that one could have done with this one's speed. Baffling. But yeah, it was exactly that. It was a tour of the gardens. There weren't much to look at other than natural scenery, but it was still pleasant, weren't it, for sit down?
And you got some nice shots, because it went over a couple of bridges, so you had some nice shots of the train lines as well, and a few of the other things in the area, which was also nice. Yeah,
and what was also quite nice was Merlin's Magic Castle, which is one of those fabled Vekoma madhouses.
And it's the first one we've done on this trip, because there is one at Phantasialand, and I love it because it's 80s and it's cheesy and it's wonderful, and that's the exact reason that Dave doesn't like it, so we didn't go on
pants. This one, however, there is nothing to complain about with this one. The pre-show was pretty cool. There was things going on around us, animatronics and stuff, lights and sound effects and such. Really, really well done. But the actual madhouse itself was done incredibly well as well. The illusion of movement was done very well. So the whole cylinder and the seats were moving at the same time.
And in different directions.
And then later on it obviously ramped up. Yeah, and
it genuinely did give you that sort of, you come off it and going, oh, actually, a little bit dizzy, which often for seasonal coaster people doesn't happen now when they come off madhouses.
I was saying that Paul from Loop Theme Park Adventures was saying, when you're in queue line for a dark ride and then you find out that it's a Vekoma madhouse, because they were everywhere at one time of day. But this one, it really did feel something like special, because I remarked halfway through the ride, like, bloody hell, because the cylinder was properly going for it. So you're obviously doing your backwards and forwards motion, and the cylinder was going hell for leather.
And what was nice with this one as well is the stuff that was on essentially the middle display table that they all have was actually interacting and working with the show that was going on at the same time. So it was nice to see the middle table like spurt bubbles and smoke and colours,
lights and
sounds, which was really, really good. And this one also had a bit of onboard audio, which I don't think a lot of them have.
No, it's the
surround sound.
It's the same audio that's in the room, but it just felt like the audio was positioned in better places on this one. But so that's Merlin's Magic Castle and the Tour de Jardin.
Yep. So our next one then was Express Platform 13, which we both, going into this, we didn't know much about it other than it was slightly metro themed, and
as in train metro, not the video game.
And it is a carbon copy of essentially Rock and Roller Coaster
or Avengers Flight Force
or Avengers Flight Force. It's a Vekoma launch coaster, and I said today before we got on this, I was like, right, what I remember of Rock and Roller Coaster, jerky, so prepare yourself. I wasn't wrong.
It is jerky, but it's not too bad. But I kind of feel like the launch and the brake run are the two things to talk about, as well as the queue line. The actual ride itself, it's all right, but the queue line is what makes this one.
Right.
It's almost like a scare maze built into a ride, but not like a scary scare maze. It's just as in there's so much queue line to walk through. And things happen as you're going through the queue line. It's not just like, oh, look at this, look at that. There's noises and sound effects, and your special effects are occurring as you're walking past them, which is really cool. I mean, you'll hopefully be able to see here because I took the GoPro down. There's a section where the platform's been broken up because that's the story of Platform 13 is the fact that Platform 13's cursed. So you go through a broken sort of hole in the wall, and you can see two screens, and those screens are mimicking a
Train
live
going past.
subway line,
live subway line.
which is really cool.
The amount of detail in this queue line is insane.
Yeah.
And if anyone from Merlin is watching this, please come here and please take these ideas for Ghost Train at Thorpe Park.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
you've
what
done
I thought.
good, but not really when you compare it to this. And it is absolutely insane. You genuinely do feel like you have walked into a disused London Underground tube from the 1940s, 50, going by some of the pictures and the movies that are advertised on the subway. And as Dave says, there is stuff happened. We've done this twice today, and the first time we walked through, we both jumped because we walked past something and it knocked on the wall.
Yeah, it's
we
kind
weren't
of like a ticketing office. So the shutters are down, but there's a thing knocking on the wall on the inside. We both went bloody hell. And it's just stuff like that that makes it.
We were genuinely walking around that quite slowly, that queue line, especially on the first go through, because it's like, I've done so many scare mazes, someone's going to jump out here.
Yeah, but it's not scary as in terrifying. It's just there's little jumps here and there. Once you then get to the actual station platform, which I thought was really cool. It reminded me of like a disused version, like a Jubilee line station, because there's boards up where the air gates would normally be, so you can't see the station until it's your turn to board, and then the doors open. Not like they do on the London Underground, because obviously they're sliding doors, but they're open like really abruptly, sort of thing. And essentially, you then get on the train. And the idea is then that this is kind of like an evacuation train, I believe, from the events that happened on platform 13, because there's a newsreel that plays in the pre-show queue, essentially, that tells you about how it's just riddled with disaster, is this platform, which is explained in the queue line as well. You then board the train. It then goes on to the launch section. There's lights and whatnot. It's quite a cool launch sequence. Boom, you're out into the thing. You then come back into the brake run, and you think, oh, ride's over. But it's not.
And you get like essentially an end show section, and you go, giving you spoilers here, if we haven't already.
Yeah.
And you get an end show section, you go past a disused garage, and then you can, because initially when you get on the train, you can smell gas if you're at the back of the train, which we thought was, just part of the aesthetic. But no, the gas is actually from the show section at the end. You come in past disused carriage and it's on fire.
Yeah, the train itself is made to look like it's broken down and destroyed, sort of on fire, and then there is actual real fire effects. As you go past it, it ignites, and it's really quite cool, is that. They didn't need to put as much effort in and go as ham as what they did, but that is definitely worthwhile coming as Platform Express 30.
So the next one to talk about is rollercoaster number 200.
Yeah, saving essentially the best till last is Untamed. Now, obviously Untamed carries an awful lot of prestige to it because it's one of those very fabled and very rare Rocky Mountain construction roller coasters. It is a conversion of an old roller coaster that was called Robin Hood. I never rode that. I've ridden similar, from what I understand. Loop Garou at Walibi, Belgium is what Robin Hood used to be. But I went into this with very high expectations because it's an RMC. Everyone bigs them up. Everyone says how amazing they are. I knew that it was going to be smooth and it was going to, it's going to do stuff that other roller coasters haven't just yet. And I was told that the restraints might shed my shins a little bit. But that's basically all I knew.
Yeah.
And getting off it lived up to expectations. It didn't exceed them, but it lived up to them, which was good enough for me. It's not my favourite roller coaster, but it certainly is up there because it is a bloody good roller coaster. Yeah.
Its theming is brilliant. The area around it is properly wild. They've got a bit of a waterfall going through it, and then when you get on the trains are really like shiny broken silver, and I really like the trains.
Yeah, they are like sort of insect themed, and the idea. Well, I would have assumed that Untamed is, and like a lot of RMCs, is that they're essentially really hardcore. But no, Untamed seems to have got like a more laid-back kind of nature taking over kind of thing, and I presume that's what Untamed actually means. Not it's Untamed as in it's a wild beast. It's Untamed as in wilderness is growing, and taking things back, which I think is really cool, considering that it's the other way around for the construction of the roller coaster. They've taken wooden roller coaster and put metal on it. I don't know. I don't know if that's just me looking into it. Anyway, as for the ride itself, I thought it was a bit weird the way that you do the restraints, because you have to put a safety belt on and you leave the lap bar alone.
Yeah.
The ride host will come put the lap bar down, but I presume that's so they can check the seat belts on. Once you've done that, you then get some really cool interactivity with the dispatch, and I've seen other people have it as well, and the 2 rides I've had on it today, you clap basically to sort of encourage the train to go.
Yeah.
But I've also seen it where the train station's been entirely silent, so hopefully if this is your first sort of time, you do get that, because it really does add to it.
Yep.
Outer bank turn, not really a big fan of that, but it was over so quick, it didn't really matter too much. Lift hill, it's a lift hill. You can't really get too excited about a lift hill.
Yeah, and to be fair, it's a relatively quick lift hill. It doesn't dawdle, but it doesn't go up at kind of
breakneck speed.
Six levels of speed either. It's somewhere in the middle, and then you get to the top, and then it kicks up a notch to get you over the top.
It does go a bit faster at the top. You then get what is a particularly cool drop. That will boot you out of your seat. Then you get a speed hill, which will boot you out of your seat. Then you get a weird inversion, which is, I think it's, was it 270 degree sort of rollback or something like that? So it inverts, but doesn't go all the way over, and then comes back again. Series of speed bumps and hills. It really does at times feel like a bunking Brocco, because it's trying to get you out. And sometimes I think it's too much. I feel like the force is there a little bit too much. But it does also have what I think is the best inversion I've ever sort of experienced, which is the wraparound corkscrew, I think it's called, towards the sort of middle of the ride and on the return journey. It banks one way, then goes into the corkscrew as it's banking to do the turn, and it is just so smooth and so well done. Love that part.
Yeah, that's one thing to say about the whole entire coaster, because I was a little bit nervous as usual, because it's a new coaster for me, new coaster for Dave, but Dave's more of a thrill man, so yeah. And it's absolutely smooth. I didn't have any problems with my shins whatsoever. The only issue I had, it's being a bit on the chunkier side, it does genuinely feel like it is trying to throw you out, as Dave said, and sort of come the end of the ride, I had wobbly bits that were a bit further up than when they started.
Yeah, on that, to explain that, when the restraints come down, they sort of sit on your belly. Now, as you're getting thrown out of your seat, the restraint will sit under your belly. So if, like me, you've got a bit of a gut, same as Tracy, the restraint will sit under your belly, and that can make it a little bit on the uncomfortable side. But I kind of expected that, at least a little bit, because I've been told that RMC need to work on their restraints. So that's literally the only thing that I can think of that is a genuine sort of, even a niggly complaint, because it wasn't uncomfortable.
No,
it was just a bit sort of, I'm noticing that.
Yeah, other than that, it was perfectly fine. It was butter smooth near enough, and for something that essentially it's been bolted on to the existing coaster near enough, I expected it to be a bit rougher, a bit jerkier, but it wasn't. Absolutely butter smooth.
Yeah.
And it took the turns, the inversions, everything it does at a fairly steady pace. So if you're a thrill seeker, and like Dave, you can sit there and go through, oh, we've done that, we've done that, we've done that, we've done that. But like me, you sit there and go, right, I've done this turn now. Right, hang on, I've recovered. Right, doing that turn now. Right.
It doesn't assault you too much like some other coasters can do.
Yeah, and it's nice that.
Yeah, so I totally understand the hype around Rocky Mountain Constructions now. It does make me ever so excited to eventually get to ride Zadra over in Poland, because that's a ground up one that's not been converted. Rocky Mountain Construction could do with what they wanted with that. I do look forward to getting on some more RMCs in the years to come. Hopefully we'll get one in the UK at some point. And it is cool that just on the subject of RMC, that these guys are getting 2 single rail coasters, the Raptors, a thrill-seeking one as well as a junior one, and they're going to duel, which is going to be amazing. I'm going to be hopefully next year for that, because that just looks really cool. Does that? So that's Untamed. It really is worthwhile talking about. We're nearly 7 minutes talking about Untamed, which beats Canon, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So absolutely phenomenal coaster, definitely worthwhile. So final things to talk about is essentially the wrap up and merchandise. Now, if you compare this park to Alton Towers or the Greater Merlin Group, you'll probably find that the merch is okay.
Yeah.
Compare it to Drayton Manor, Bobajan and Plopsaland, the merch is amazing.
Yeah.
Because here we've managed to get T-shirts and pin badges.
Pin badges, yeah.
Which is absolutely unheard of. Every major ride had a pin badge. Lost Gravity had 2, which was nice. I don't know why that one deserved 2. But pin badges were great. T-shirts were great. There weren't an extensive amount of merchandise for the rides, but there was enough, to sort of pick at, weren't there?
Exactly, yeah. Untamed had shot glasses, for instance. Lost Gravity did have hats, and there was at least something slightly different in every range for every ride. So if you were kind of looking to collect pin badges, that was generally the only thing you could collect over all the rides, along with T-shirts.
Yeah.
But I picked up a pair of jogger bottoms, which are park ones, but I think they might be Condor if I'm
they are
honest.
Condor themed ones, but at least the crappiest roller coaster here has got some love, but there weren't anything for the little ones. I would have liked to have seen something for Eat My Dust, or Draco, but it's not the end of the world. The big boy's got something, which is it's unheard of, as I say, from the parks that we've been to have a decent set of merchandise. So props to Walibi Holland for having some decent merch. Yeah.
I'd like some lanyards though, because we've now got the pin badges. I'd like a lanyard to put them on. Yeah,
it's not a problem for me, but Tracy collects them on lanyards. So merchandise is very good. Not as good as Merlin's, but very few parks are going to be as good as Merlin's. Blackpool Pleasure Beach, for example. Nothing really to complain about there. So food offerings have been pretty sort of lacking, I suppose, is probably the best way to describe it. We've managed to get, we've seen sandwiches, chicken burgers, nachos, and the burritos, like I said, that we had earlier on. The food that we had earlier on was really tasty.
It was,
and really good value for money. But it would have been nice to see a few more different things.
We think that's maybe because today is a Sunday. Sundays in the continent are like Sundays in Britain in the 1980s, that nothing's open past 3 o'clock. So it has been fairly quiet in the park today. So we reckon that's why, but that's not a big niggle.
Absolutely.
We've managed.
Absolutely fine, brand consistency has been really good. It does feel like Walibi Holland is very similar to Walibi Belgium, although Holland has its own identity because it's bonkers. The entire park is, each area is just nuts in some ways, which is really nice to see.
Yeah, nuts, but it works.
And
it's a slightly different layout to Belgium as well, because this is kind of a 3-pointed star, whereas Belgium, you genuinely you go around in a big circle.
Belgium, I managed to essentially navigate thanks to Rollercoaster Tycoon 2 and the time I spent on that, whereas this one, it's changed so much since then. I had trouble finding things, but the park's been really, really good. Improvements, the only thing I could really think of to improve, put Platform Express 13 indoors, the entire thing indoors, and make that a dark ride, because that would seriously make that a properly world-class coaster. And a Digipass. Would love to see a Digipass, because all the rides, also all the major coasters apart from I think Speed of Sound, have got on-ride photos. So it'd be nice to be able to collect all those for a set price.
Unfortunately, you can't mix and match. It's a case of 3 photos plus your Digipass.
That's the current one. What I mean is having a Digipass like Slick Aaron does, or Merlin do. You pay €25 or something like that, and you get all your digital photos. So I don't think there's anything really to complain about. It's a great park with some great rides. Get yourself over here and experience Walibi Holland. Exactly, it's not a million miles away.
No, it's not.
With that, we're going to sign out because the battery's running low on the GoPro. So, you take care of yourselves, and we'll see you in the next one, which we're going to be at Dreamlet.
So,
bye-bye.
Bye.